What? What is happening?
Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All right, all right, all right.
Powered by Emery. Brian Lee.
I don't know what's going on. Sometimes technology's awesome and sometimes it sucks. What's up, guys? Ryan Lee, your host of Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen. We are going live today. And if you're looking to start or grow an outdoor lighting business, I think this is the right spot. We'll find out. If you're looking to grow a technology business, it might not be this place for you. But excited to nerd out all things outdoor lighting. And today is going to be especially nerdy, because we've got the one, the only, the best damn bookkeeper from Best Damn Bookkeeping, Dan Platta. So if you know who Dan is, you know what to expect out of today's show. If you don't know Dan Platta, he somehow has made finance and recruiting. Somehow he's made that great again. I'm not exactly sure how, but is that look weird on my screen? Does that look weird? I don't know. On my screen, it's like looking weird, but maybe it's not like that for everybody. Excited for today's show. Again, we got Dan Platta with Best Damn Bookkeeping coming on the show in just a little bit. Before we have him on, always want to thank you guys so much for your support. This is such a cool opportunity to nerd out on outdoor lighting every single week. And quite frankly, bringing on different guests and getting different angles and different ideas and stuff like that. It's just awesome for the industry. So thank you guys so much for your support. If you're bored and you want to, do something cool today, go give me a 5-star review on Apple. Or if you're not on Apple, go to Spotify. I don't care. Just do that 5-star review. Sometimes it allows you to even write something nice. So that'd be cool. But really, thank you guys so much for your support. Today, it is the #1 landscape lighting show in St. Paul, Minnesota. So yeah, pretty cool. Again, we got Dan Platta coming on in just a couple minutes. Before we have him on, I want to share a couple things. So inside Landscape Lighting Secrets, we throw stuff at the wall all the time. We're like, hey, what works? What doesn't? What should we add? What should we take away? All the different things. And this year we decided to try something brand new. I got this idea and I was like, okay, we're going to do, it's called a Friday fly-in. Okay. And so we just did the first ever Friday fly-in at my house like 3 days ago. And it was awesome. So we're doing 2 a year. We're doing this one, which just happened May 1st. And then the other one is happening July 10th or something like that. It's in the group, but so cool. We had 9 people, which I was actually expecting a few more. So at first I was like, oh man, shouldn't we have more? But 9 was awesome. And actually the feedback after, I was like, so what'd you guys think? And everyone's like, yeah, we're going to tell everyone it sucked. 1-star review, because they don't want more people coming, because it was kind of a nice small group. So, but it was really, really cool, because these are people that are leaving their businesses, leaving their families, to work on their business. And the reason we decided to implement this Friday fly-in, by the way, it's just included. Like, people were already like in the program without this, and we just like, hey, let's throw this in as a bonus. It doesn't cost any extra. We did a shop tour of Keith Rosser's place the Thursday night before, which was awesome. I mean, that guy's been in business for 25 years. So just to see the behind the scenes and how he does his systems and everything else and meet his team, that's extremely valuable. And then we went to dinner that night. Friday was all day at my house. My mom cooked us lunch. I mean, where else are you going to get a homemade meal like that? I mean, it was awesome, right? And then we went out to dinner that night, and I called it quits around 8:39. Those guys stuck around and had some beers and stuff like that. So it was just a really, really good time. And so the reason we're doing that is we're really doubling down on this idea of community. And you can get information now. I mean, you got all the different types of AI out there and stuff like that. And we realize that we're not really in the information business. We're in the helping people grow their business. And the most growth I've experienced in my life has been by learning from others and being part of a community. And so really that's the purpose of these Friday fly-ins. And we went over a lot of different stuff, which I'm not going to share here, but one of the kind of moments, epiphanies I had is like, you literally have to be crazy. You have to be out of your mind to want to start your own business. You have to be insane to be a successful entrepreneur. And honestly, like you pretty much do because you're signing up for something where you have like unlimited hours. You got to work crazy hours, take extreme risks, and you don't get paid out a lot for like sometimes a long period of time and sometimes ever, depending on like how serious you take your business. And so, yeah, some people figure it out and they end up making more money, but they still usually are trading time for money. They might be trading less time for more money, but they're still kind of trading that. And so I started thinking about this and I started kind of evaluating like who's the most successful people in the outdoor lighting industry? Who's the most successful people in my circle that have nothing to do with outdoor lighting but have other businesses? And the crazier the person, the more successful they are. like um 'cause they're crazy enough to think that they can build a business that runs without them. They're crazy enough to think that something can happen. Like they can create this thing out of nowhere and it's somehow going to add to the economy. And so you think about this, like if in order to build the business that you want, we all have this like idea of something better than where we're at. And if you don't, then you're just like content and you're probably not listening to this podcast because you're just happy with where you're at. And you're not going to grow. And like that is what it is. But if you really want to build this business that you want, you have to become someone different than who you are today. Okay. And because if you were already capable, like if you were already capable of building your dream business, then you would have already done it, right? And some of you might argue and say, "No, I'm capable. I just haven't done it yet." Well, but no, there's something that needs to change. Urgency, something needs to change. Otherwise, if you were capable 100% of building this dream business, you would have already done it. But there's certain things missing, and so you need to develop those attributes. So this means that you literally have to transform into something different and someone different than who you are today, right? And so I decided like, okay, well, how do we do that? And I started thinking like, okay, I look at these people that are further along than me. I'm like, so what? Like, okay, I accept that. I believe that. So how do we start? So step one, you have to start thinking bigger. Okay, I meet with people that are looking to scale and grow their outdoor lighting business every single week. And to be honest, most people's goals, they're just too small. I mean, you would think everyone would be like, "Yeah, man, I just want to do $100 million, whatever." Like most people are like too realistic. They're like, "You know what? If I could just grow by like 150, if I could just like do 250." And I'm like, "What?" Like that's just weak to me. That's just like that doesn't force you to be someone different than who you are today. That's just like one move. Like you could just turn on advertising and do that. You know what I mean? Like it's not like transformational. It's just linear. It's just like you could just add on. And what I want to help people do is think exponential. I want you to be able to multiply. So instead of like one trading one for one, trading an hour for dollars, like let's trade an hour for multi, right? And that's just because you're making a decision from a place you're in now. So it's not that crazy actually. It's just that's who you are today. You're not capable of thinking bigger and making bigger decisions, right? And so you're not thinking about growing your business from a place you want to be. You're thinking like, okay, this is what I want to do now. So in step 1, you literally just have to start thinking bigger. So one of the ways to do this is to surround yourselves with people that are also thinking bigger because your circle, your family, your friends, your close network, they actually don't want you to grow. If you grow, then it gets uncomfortable for them because then they question, well, what am I doing with my life? Right. So they're going to constantly hold you back. They're not bad people. They just don't want you to take risk because what if it doesn't work? Right. And I'm going, well, take a risk because what if it does work? Right. So this is where you'd insert any type of community, maybe landscape lighting secrets. All right. Book a call now. Here's the link. Um, but this is where you insert community. Okay. So, in order to help you also along this journey, ask yourself these questions like, what is the cost? What is the cost of staying where you're at now? What does your life look like 10 years from now, even 2 years from now, if nothing changes? What is the consequence of not changing? You really need to understand like why you're doing all this. And it's not just for money. If when we all started, it was for money. Like it's just like I don't want to feed my kids ramen anymore. Like that's normal. But at some point you need a bigger why than money because otherwise you're just gonna stay stuck. You get used to being comfortable. Okay. So and honestly, it doesn't make sense to move to step number 2 until you are literally obsessed, until you are obsessed with being dissatisfied with your current situation. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't be grateful. Like I love gratitude. I'm always grateful for where I'm at. But then I'm like, okay, like I'm not satisfied. I believe if I'm not growing, I'm dying. Okay. So once you become literally obsessed with being dissatisfied with your current situation, then you can move to step two. Step two is you got to be intentional. Okay. So, coming up with a dream or a goal, that's easy. You're just like, oh, yeah, I want to do $10 million. But like, how are you going to do that? Right. I mean, a lot of people will tell me, like, yeah, I want to do this and then I want to franchise and I want to take over the world. I'm like, cool. I mean, anyone could just say that. Right. But what are you doing to intentionally build your dream? It's not just going to build itself. Right. So the beautiful thing here is you actually do have control. Like it's not a wish anymore. A wish is like, yeah, I hope one day I can do like that. It's a failing strategy to hope for things and wish for things because you're not willing to do anything about it. So, but in this, when you get intentional, like now you can build the business the way you want, with who you want, when you want. And it literally starts with you defining your trajectory, defining your target, and then asking yourself the question. I love this question. What has to be true? What has to be true for me to get to this revenue, this profitability standpoint in this amount of time? Okay. So you're basically just going to reverse engineer your target and fill in the blanks. So you can ask yourself questions like, how much would I need to spend on advertising to generate the necessary amount of leads? Let's say you're trying to build a $10 million business. How many leads would I need to generate every year? Right? Because it's probably different than what you're generating now because you don't have a $10 million business. How many appointments would I need to go on? Okay, leads is one thing, but how many are going to book to appointments? How many appointments would I need to close? What would the average total contract value need to be? How much revenue would I need to install per day? See, these are good questions because some people are fine doing $5,000 jobs. Well, you're going to have to do a lot more $5,000 jobs to get to 10 million than if you're doing $10,000 jobs, $20,000 jobs, $50,000 jobs, $100,000 jobs, whatever your number is. Okay. How much revenue would I need to install per day? How many working days do I have available? Okay. You're in a different market. If you're up north, you're going to have probably less working days. Okay. How many installers would I need to hire? How many salespeople would I need to hire? How many office admins would I need to hire? How big of a shop space and office space would I need? What kind of tools? How many trucks? Insurance, taxes, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. Fill in the blanks and build your plan. That's what being intentional is. So finally, after you are starting thinking bigger, now you're going to be intentional and build a plan. You can move to step 3, which is you have to take action. You have to execute on that plan. Okay. Which means you're going to have to take uncomfortable action. Because again, if you were already prepared and ready, a lot of people are like, I'll do it later, do it next month, I'll do it when I'm ready. Well, that's not how this works. Like you're never ready. Okay. So you have to take action before you feel ready, which is kind of the definition of risk. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Are you willing to take the uncomfortable action? Are you willing to take the risks necessary to get you to the point or the trajectory that you've defined? I mean, if you're unwilling to spend, or I guess I should say invest $1 million, right, per year to generate $10 million per year of revenue, then maybe you need to revisit step 1, right? There's going to be some uncomfortable action, some hard things in here. Every single multi-million dollar business owner that I've met, they always have these 3 steps in common. They're always thinking bigger, they're always intentional, and they're always executing at a high level. They're taking risks that others just simply aren't willing to take. Okay. So anytime I meet a business owner who's not where they want to be, it always comes down to one of these 3 things. Okay. Now, a lot of people, it's kind of easy to check off number 1, like, maybe you're thinking bigger. That's kind of the easy part. It's like, oh, I want to go multi-state. I want to do a franchise. Like so many people tell me that, right? But that's the easy part. Like, oh, I'm thinking bigger. Okay. How intentional are you going to be? How willing are you to take these risks? So most people just are not intentional enough. That's like just a huge, huge problem. They're not running the business is running them. which then obviously that spills into the lack of step 3, where they're not executing at a high level. They're not taking the necessary risks. They're waiting for one day instead of declaring day one, right? So it's always next time, next month, when I make more, when this happens. And so those are the steps. It's like, seriously, start thinking bigger, start getting intentional, and then just take action before you feel ready. That's the key. And these are the traits that the big dogs in the outdoor lighting industry, these are the things they're doing. The big dogs in other industries, that's what they're doing. So just want to share that with you. Currently kind of going through that myself. I mean, I got my business up to a point where it's kind of awesome. And I'm like, okay, like it's kind of been awesome for a little bit. So I'm going to start getting uncomfortable. I'm going to start making moves. It's like, oh, buddy, here we go. Right. So if you guys want to join me on my journey, let's take some uncomfortable risks together, some uncomfortable action, because I promise you'll feel better later. And the thing is, everyone wants certainty. I want to know before I hire this person that it's going to work out, but you just don't. You have to hire the person and then figure out, all right, I wasn't ready. It didn't work. I'm not as good of a trainer as I thought I was. I'm not as good of a leader, whatever it is. And that's when certainty happens. It's after you take the risk, after you take the action. But at least then you have certainty one way or the other, right? So hopefully that will help you out with those 3 steps. All right. Hey, listen, stop settling for cheap, unreliable lamps that ruin your projects and your reputation. Emery Allen's line of premium LED lamps deliver the performance, longevity, and color consistency your clients expect and deserve. Trusted by lighting designers and installers around the world and backed by decades of lighting expertise, don't settle for less. Upgrade your designs and installations today with Emery Allen. Reach out to Jackson L at emeryallen.com to learn more and take advantage of their contractor pricing. Again, his email is jacksonl, as in the letter L, jacksonl at emeryallen.com. Don't forget to mention that you heard about him here on Lighting for Profits, and he will hook you up with that discounted contractor pricing. Just email jacksonl at emeryallen.com. All right, I think it's that time, mainly because I need to get a drink, and also because he's waiting in the background. Let's get our guest coming on the show and get this show on the road. What do you guys say? What is up? What is up? Welcome to the show, Mr. Dan Platta. What's up, Dan?
Somebody say drink? Did you say drink?
I think I was like, yeah, get a beer.
I had this drink.
Yeah, I forgot to plan for the show better. Are you drinking?
I threw some tequila in here because I've just been on calls all day, and literally my last demo of the day, my voice was like going out. I've just been like running the gauntlet here. And I was like, we're doing a podcast, and I actually my show is normally on Wednesday nights, but my guest is coming on tonight. So I got like an earlier afternoon show after I got to get off of here and then go get my kids and then come back and like heat up leftovers. I'm gonna be that dad tonight. I'm gonna heat up some leftovers and then podcast for me. So, but I'm gonna tell you, Ryan, I was so damn inspired. I was writing notes down about going big, being intentional, and taking risks. So I quick messaged Tommy Mello to see if I could get on his podcast and just jump off of this one. You know, just trying to go big and take some risks, but he wasn't available. So I'm here. I'm here.
I love it. Wait, you tried to go during my show? You were gonna?
Yeah, man. You said go take big risks, go do big things, and I was like, man, I should go jump on Tommy's podcast right now. You know?
Well, no, I appreciate that your willingness, but I meant to say there's like a small asterisk, like unless it makes my life worse, don't take those risks. So what? He stood you. He said no, or you didn't get an answer.
I didn't actually do it. I just thought I just being funny.
Come on, take action, bro.
Damn it! Now I'm being a little bitch.
Yeah, I thought I was being inspirational.
Yeah, my bad.
Well, I always enjoy spending time with you. But before we jump into it, Will you just introduce yourself? I mean, you've been on the show several times, but we got new listeners that are always
Yeah.
joining in. So who is Dan Platta and who is Best Damn Bookkeeping?
I am Dan Platta, and Dan Platta owns Best Damn Bookkeeping. Oh, I just went third person. I've got a bunch of reps in the home service space running home service businesses, and I also happen to be an accounting nerd, and so as that took off and started doing bookkeeping for people, it just made sense to keep doing bookkeeping for people. And so we try to make bookkeeping not suck, and we have fun while we do it. And no matter what business you're in, obviously, if you're here, you're probably doing some landscape lighting or thinking about it. Maybe you're in landscaping or in holiday lighting or permanent lighting and thinking about doing landscape lighting. But there's one thing I know with 100% certainty forever and for always is that if you're running a small business, you're just playing a math game. Everything is a math game. And you have no excuse. You can't avoid it. Every decision you make in your business, like regardless of the services that you do, every decision you make is a mathematical decision. Even the fluffy ones like employee engagement, everything has to have an ROI, and it always comes down to the numbers. It's not a hobby. It is your life. It is your livelihood. It is your business. And so measure the hell out of it and make sure it's working, damn it. And let's have some fun doing it. That's what
Yes, let's go. So I just had this thought. Like this is going to be a cool conversation because you've been able to see the behind the scenes. Like you said, it's just a giant math game, and you see the numbers, and you know what works, what doesn't. You've seen the behind the scenes for a lot of different home service businesses. Interested in your opinion on like what's awesome about the outdoor lighting industry. We'll call outdoor lighting because landscape lighting, permanent lighting, holiday lighting. What's awesome about that industry, and maybe what are some of the pros and cons based on what you've seen, and kind of I know that might change because some people just are bad at running businesses, but if you were to compare like someone who's decent at running a business in the outdoor lighting industry versus someone in a different home service industry, what's the pros and cons?
Yeah, I don't know if reminisce is the right word, but I think it's pretty damn cool the position that I get to sit in where I literally get to watch hundreds of business owners, someday thousands of business owners, and I help thousands, but like even just of our clientele, I just get to obsess about what works and what doesn't work, and I have like a front row seat to all of it, and some I'm helping do it, and so it is a cool thing to be a part of for sure. Um, I don't own a landscape lighting business, so let me just caveat with that. But I literally the when I started working with you and like getting to be part of your community, that was the thing I started talking about with other guys in Minneapolis. Now, Minnesota is one of the states where you have to have like an electrician's license to do a lot of landscape lighting stuff. Not all states have that, but that's a thing to be thinking about. But the average ticket, the value of the relationship, that it's not transactional, that there's a true relationship going on there, which like as a bookkeeping guy, and I'm selling a recurring service that's low margin, not a high margin one-time service like landscape lighting, but the relationship is equally important. And that is what makes businesses fun. Transactional businesses are not that fun to run because everything feels like a damn transaction. It's like in your marriage, and we've all been there before, where it's like, okay, who's getting the kids, who's cooking dinner, and who's doing this, and you forget that you're married sometimes, and you just feel like you're running a business and it's a household, and it becomes transactional. My wife and I use those words when we're like, we need a date. Like we used to have fun together all the time. We used to just be best buddies. Now we have these 3 damn kids that always are like asking for stuff and whining about stuff. And
Wait, so I have a question. So you guys like, I'm the only one that schedules sex? What's going on here?
I've tried to implement a sex calendar and my wife wasn't as about it, but I think I can get her to come around.
I thought it was all transactional. I thought that's just how life was. Okay. I'm learning.
I would prefer to schedule it so that I can guarantee that it happens. Cause I'm like Ron Burgundy, man. If it's on the calendar, if it's on the teleprompter, I'm there. I'm there for it. So I think if that was what it took, whatever, I'll be there for it. But no, it is really cool. And I think when I look at landscape lighting, like the ability to move the needle, and I work with a ton of maid service businesses, and I've run a ton of maid service businesses before. And so I'll like use that. And bookkeeping is just like a maid service. We just clean digitally instead of clean physically. We're just cleaning up people's QuickBooks accounts. And it's just so different when you're running that type of business that's so repeat. There's some value in that recurrency, right? Which is why like maintenance contracts and landscape lighting are neat, but you can't move the needle the same. It's just this like army of labor. And if you think about $1 million maid service business, the amount of employees that needs and the amount of activity that needs to generate $1 million is crazy. Like we had a business doing just over $1 million and we had like damn near 30, I think we had 30 employees in that business. Bookkeeping, I'm doing like 1.3, $1.4 million pace right now. We have 25 people on our team. Granted, a lot of them are in training and we're growing like crazy. And I want to make sure we're in front of that. You can never be like in front of growth enough, but like trying to make sure our people are really trained up. So we're generally like overstaffed and we have a lot of people in the pipeline. You can do that in landscape lighting with like 4 freaking people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like your ability to margin up and actually this is like total digression here, but it's hilarious we're talking about this right now. I have a buddy that is here installing a new garage door on my house. I worked with him in the corporate world and he left. He was doing some other stuff and he thought about starting a maid service business. Again, nothing against maid service businesses. I used to run a bunch of them. But it is definitely an army of labor. And so he said, like, what should I get into? And if in Minnesota, landscape lighting didn't require a license, I'd have been like, you'd probably take a hard look at landscape lighting. But I was like, anytime I'm looking at an industry that I would get into, I'm looking at like that barrier to entry can be a friend, but it can also be a foe depending on where you are in the process, right? And how much time you have to get through that barrier to entry. Like he could go become an electrician and do it, or maybe you could pay for somebody else's license. But I'm like, what's the likelihood that people are going to need the thing? What's the ability to charge for it? And like how much fun is it to go execute? Like how many people do you need per dollar of revenue? The more people, kind of sometimes the less fun it is to execute because it just becomes this like super big army. And the same thing I like about garage doors is the same thing I like about landscape lighting is the same thing I like about HVAC and plumbing, which is you get 3 different margin types. You get new product that you get to install and you get to charge money for the thing you install and the labor to install it. And so there's great margin on installs. You get emergency service calls. And maybe not as much in landscape lighting, but obviously in like HVAC or garage doors, if either of those isn't working, you're like, yeah, what is it going to cost? Somebody better come out here right now, right? And you can do maintenance contracts. And landscape lighting has a little bit of all of those where you can make money off of it in all seasons. Again, like we're in Minnesota, and so there's some hurdles to get into that space. And he was like trying to find something to do tomorrow. And so I literally like this was over the winter. We met for lunch, and he's like, what should I do? And I was like, man, given where we're at and like the learning curve for HVAC and the learning curve for landscape lighting, I told him like I would look at doing garage doors. He's here putting.
Now he's doing it.
He's
Are you his first client?
No. Like he
already started.
Like, he was going and the dude's brilliant. Like he's gonna freaking crush it. I worked with him in the corporate world, and I was just like, man, this guy is gonna be like running this company. Brilliant dude. And has like the right mentality and personality for it. Just super good dude. But like these spaces are great spaces to play in because you can produce a lot of revenue without as many people, and you can produce it in different ways. And I think that is really important to look at when you're like thinking about getting into a business is what different ways can you generate the revenue? What are the barriers? If you're new, sometimes less barriers is more friendly depending on where you are. If you've been in it, more barriers can be better because it stops new competitors from coming in. But it's just such a great space to be in. In landscape lighting, you can move the needle. Like you were talking about people's goals and like, oh, you want to grow by 100,000. It's like when you get going in landscape lighting, that's a project sometimes, right? It's like you can move the needle at such a ridiculous pace. Versus when you're doing maid services, you're like trying to deliver death by 1,000 cuts because you're getting it at a few $100 a pop. And window cleaning, you're getting at a few $100 a pop. Landscape lighting, you're getting it at tens of thousands of dollars at a pop. And so it scales cool, and you can do a lot of it with just a few folks.
That's why I think I'm like, dude, like, average ticket, let's call it 10 grand. Like if your goal is just do like 150 grand, you could just go knock doors.
I was gonna
Like,
say, what are you gonna do the rest of the year? Because there's like a month of work.
yeah, but I don't know. So I'm interested to see if you have a perspective on it, on like why you think people make it so complicated. Like, where do they screw up the numbers? And I think I have my own opinion on it, but I'm interested to hear what you say before I tell you my opinion. But like, where are they screwing up? Because it's like you said, dude, this is high ticket. We don't need thousands of people. I mean, $1 million business is 100 people giving you 10 grand.
I have two things that I see that hangs people up. And it's they're like to me they're obvious, but they're not easy necessarily. Um One is when you are just starting up, you only charge enough to cover your costs, not the cost of a scaled business. And Mike, who's out here right now, that was the thing I made. I was like, don't charge me what it costs you to get a garage door and for you to install it. Charge me what it costs for you to get a garage door, for you to pay for a company vehicle that somebody else is using, and all the fuel that they would be using, and the marketing that you would have had to use to get me, and the rent that you're going to have to pay someday when you've got your own shop, and the insurance when you've got 10 people on your team and you got a bunch of 20-year-old dudes driving your truck, and the employee engagement stuff and the travel to send people to training things. Your COGS needs to be 50% or below based on a scaled business. So if this garage door costs $1,000, you got to charge me at least $2,000, right? Like you have to. And really, the supplies you're installing should be like 30%. You got to at least charge me $3,000, if not more.
Yeah.
Like you need to charge enough for the scaled business. And we talk about that with landscape lighting. Like if your fixture costs $100, you cannot install it for $200. You need to be charging $300 or $400 because even if you don't have the rent and the utility bills and the admin team and all the other shit that goes along with a scaled business, you still need to charge for it. And because otherwise that average job of $10,000, you're charging $5,000 for it. But guess what? The market rate is $10,000. Like the market rate is the market rate. You don't need to decide what the pricing should be. The market decides what the pricing should be. You need to build your cost structure accordingly. But like, just because you're new and you're smaller, maybe if you're like brand new, you don't charge quite the market rate because you're still like making sure that you can deliver it. But the market rate is the market rate. And we generally know that it's kind of around 3 to 4 times the cost of fixture or higher. And so I see that being a problem. They don't charge enough and they don't command enough, and they don't bring from a sales approach, they don't like bring the mentality and like the chest out, like this is what it's worth. This is what it costs for like a real professional landscape lighting install. If you're not willing to pay that, go to Home Depot and get the solar ones and then replace 20 of them every single year because they all go out because they're all a piece of shit, right? Like, sure, go and do that if that's the product you want, but that's not the product we deliver.
And it probably took me 5 years to learn that lesson. I'm not kidding. Because I was just the guy who was like, well, I can't, man, I'm getting these. This was halogen. So we could buy like a fixture for like $25. And I'm like, man, like we're going to make bank installing these, you know? And then I just kept asking myself, like, how does this work in the real world? How does that business afford this? And how do they stay in business? And how do they afford that kind of advertising? And it was literally like 5 years in, I had that grand epiphany of like, oh, you idiot. Like you price like who you want to be, not like who you are today. Because
That's for the job that you want, not the job
yeah,
you have.
otherwise there's never budget. There's never, I was like, seriously, I can't afford to hire an admin. And it wasn't a lie. It wasn't a mindset issue. I literally couldn't afford it
Yeah,
because
not charging enough to pay an
no
ad.
money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly you put a $60,000 a year in there for that. And then you go, okay, I need an office space and that's $3,000 a month. And then gosh, I would need like 2 more vans. And then again, that's kind of what I started with, like being intentional and then map it out. It's like, you can build this. You just have to be intentional. And then you back into that number and it's like $500 a light. I can't charge $500 a light. Then don't do this business.
Yeah.
That's really, you can't go, well, I'll just do 300 a light. Like it's just not going to work. You can't just make that decision because you're going to be out of business. You'll never be able to afford those people. You'll never be able to grow.
If the dude with a hot dog cart has aspirations of scaling and having multiple hot dog carts to food trucks to fix brick and mortar restaurants, he can't charge $1 a hot dog, right? He's got to charge the same $6 for a hot dog. And then if you want a meal, it's $10. He's got to charge the same thing that A&W charges and McDonald's charges and everywhere else charges, because eventually he's going to need to pay for all that shit too, not just for the metal cart he's pushing around. And so like a hot dog is still worth the same thing as a hot dog. It's gourmet as long as somebody else made it. That's how we define gourmet in our family. It's gourmet as long as somebody else made it. Then it's always gourmet.
Costco hot dog, is that gourmet? I guess someone else made it.
Depends who cooks it, man. It's gourmet as long as somebody else is buying it and making it for you. The other thing that I see though that I think is the hang up, and I see this with like landscape lighting people that I'm talking to, is it is a relationship based thing, because not everybody's your client. And I would say most people aren't your client. You have to be really intentional about the relationships that you're building, and they take a while. It might be a year or two. It's no different than how I approach recruiting. Our employees are by far the most important part of our business, and I refuse to hire people when I interview them. Even if I need a person, I still, when I'm interviewing, and I hope to God to never get to the point where I have to recruit when I need somebody, they better already be on a long ass bench of people that I've already recruited and interviewed. But there's nothing worse than hiring out of desperation and just like making decisions out of desperation for the employee or the employer. And I'll flip it around both ways, right? If you're the employer and you hire somebody out of desperation, you're like, oh shit, we have so much work on the schedule, I need a pulse. You're going to hire like the first thing that's decent that comes along, right? It sounds like me dating in high school. And you're just going to like put up with shit. You're going to put up with shitty behaviors because you don't know any better. And you're going to think like, this is the best I could do. And then you're going to post online that good help is hard to find and nobody wants to work anymore. But it's actually just you suck at recruiting, and you probably suck at leading too. And so like you can hire out of desperation, but you need to recruit in advance. And so you need to know who's at the top of your list way before. 2 dudes that I hired in January this year, I interviewed them a year and a half ago. A friggin' year and a half ago. It's the most important relationship. These employees are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, just like a landscape lighting client is worth potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Their project might be worth 30, but their relationships and who they're going to introduce you to are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so if you don't invest in that relationship and build that relationship, and you're like trying to scoop up work out of desperation, it's gonna be tough. Like it takes intention. Number 2, be intentional. Like these are valuable relationships, and they take time to develop. And the more of them that you can develop, the more offshoots and tangents of them that there are. You can't just go run a Google ad and be like, let me see if I can get some clicks and do some transactions. Like it's just not going to happen. Like, not to say don't run Google ads, but you have to have the brand awareness. You have to have the relationships built. And I feel the same thing is true with recruiting. I don't want to hire a desperate person either, right? Just like somebody shouldn't come to work for me if I'm desperate. They don't know they're walking into a trap of working for a shitty, desperate business owner that waited until the last minute to try to recruit them. They think they're going to come into an organized professional business, and they get here and it's just fucking chaos because I don't have systems and processes, and I just throw them out into training day one, and I'm just like, just follow me, and I'll say stuff as it pops up, right? And write some stuff down, and then oh, they quit 2 weeks later. Nobody likes to work anymore.
Did you have a camera on me? Were you following me? That was my old training system.
Hundreds of people. Mine too for a long time, right? Like mine too for a long time. And for so many of us, we start with that, and then we learn different ways of doing it and ways to be more proactive. But again, let me flip it around. Is you don't want to hire somebody that's like unemployed and desperate. They just want a paycheck, right? They're going to take the first job that pays them the most, that hires them. They're not concerned about your core values. They're not concerned about your culture. They're not concerned about where you're going and what the future opportunities are. They're desperate. They're going to make a bad decision. They shouldn't come work for you. There's people that you recruit that shouldn't come work for you. It's not the right fit. But if they're desperate and you're dumb, you might hire them, right? You should be looking for people that are employed, that are thoughtful, that are proactive. They're saying, I'm looking for what's next. Like, here's the trajectory I'm on, and maybe I'm working in a place where I don't feel like I can grow. They're stagnant, right? They're not going big. They're not being intentional. They're not taking risks. I want to go somewhere where we're going somewhere. And so I'm like, if I'm that A player, I'm going out and looking before I quit. Like if I'm an A player, I'm not quitting the bird in the hand. I'm going to go start looking around at what's out there to find someplace that I'm a better fit, right? And when you're an employer and you're recruiting in advance, I have Amy, who started yesterday on our team. Interviewed her 3 months ago. And I was like, pretty quickly, you're the first on my list. And I have like 20 people that I want to hire here, but she leapfrogged over other people. Like, I'm always adding to that list, trying to figure out who's going to be the best one. And I was like, man, she's been through some hard shit. And I love people that have been through hard shit. They're just tough to break. Like, they're relentless. They have just so much grit. She gets what we do. She's done what we do. And she was like, nah, I'm good, but let me know when it's time. Right. And so, like, that's the person that I want to get. They're not desperate to get here, but they can't wait to get here. And I'm not desperate to bring them on, but I also I need to time it right to bring them on so they can so we can train them really well and get them dialed in with their clients so they can produce really well for their clients. And when you can match that up, everything works smoothly. And with landscape lighting, just like my recruiting, it's so similar. Like, none of this is an emergency, right? We need to do an amazing job. People are spending tens of thousands of dollars on the thing we deliver, right? We need to do an absolutely amazing job. It's so much more important that we find the right clients and that we have the right processes to deliver, like, pun intended, a lights out service. Like,
hold on.
We have to do that. Yeah. So like, that is just so damn important, and it takes time with landscape lighting. Like, I talk to new people, and like, man, I just can't drum it up. And I'm like, well, are you trying to run Google ads, or are you actually out building relationships? Because you're selling a thing that is a luxury, that is a high value ticket. You need the utmost amount of trust. Like, you need a ton of trust before somebody's going to just drop $50,000 on your doorstep. Like, go build some trust, go build some relationships, take some time, invest in it, be intentional.
Okay. So you just said a lot that for you is common sense, but I need to unpack some of it because a lot of it's not. Okay.
Sorry. I do that. I get
Yeah.
carried away. I get carried away.
And then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. So when I had my lighting business, I was so focused on marketing and sales. And listen, I don't want this to come across the wrong way because it is going to sound very prideful and egotistical, but I've learned I'm damn good at marketing and sales. Okay. I just thought I was mediocre, but when you like, I'm really good at it. What I overlooked, and I learned this from you, is what is the value of a team member? Because I was always like, man, an average customer, they're worth 10 grand. And then, of course, we'll get their repeat business and we'll do their backyard later or their second home. And then they get a referral.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, these guys are worth like, $50,000, $100,000, whatever. And then, like you said, you only need like 4 or 5 people to build $1 million lighting business. So it's like, well, wait a minute. If you do the other math and you go $1 million divided by, let's say 5, it could be 4, but let's just say 5. Then that means your average team member is worth $200,000, not lifetime, but per year.
Per year.
So if they're with you for 3 years, they're worth $600,000. I'm sorry, but that's way larger than any, client is worth in the landscape lighting space. So, like, I never really gave them. Now, here's what I did overlook. I did. It's not that I was like a terrible boss, but I was not intentional about building culture and doing all these things and building the bench and doing all the stuff that I've learned from you, right? And so now I look at it and I'm like, man, there's a lot of other lighting business owners that are, I would say, decent at sales and marketing. Some of them are really, really good. Most people are decent. And then they're just really bad at the culture thing, at the recruiting, at that. And so when I look at it and I'm like, well, wait a minute, like, you're spending so much time fixing your team's mistakes or getting called back out when, like, they're having to babysit so much time that now they don't have enough time to grow the business. They don't have enough time to be profitable because they're literally just like going and doing rework or their team's inefficient. So I think that's just important to understand is like, you need to be way more intentional about building this team. Like you said, build a bench. And I would say, like, people are like, what are you paying your guys? Oh, 22 an hour, 25 an hour. I'm like, dude, I'd find a way to recruit an A player at 35 an hour. Heck, give them 40 an hour. And then now you have an A player that doesn't need babysitting, and obviously now you have to be intentional on building the budget. Like, okay, how am I going to actually make money if I'm paying someone that kind of money? Probably need to raise my price, probably need to, sell these number of jobs. And again, that's just part of like what has to be true. But I don't know. I just want people to like maybe do a self audit. Like, how much energy and time and intention are you putting into your team, into recruiting, into training, and continuous training? Not just like, oh, they're onboarded, they're good to go, but like, how much time every week are you revisiting those SOPs? That's such a buzzword, like an SOP is nothing if you're not revisiting it on a regular basis.
Yep. I have found this might be a universal truth, but it's definitely a Platta truth. I have yet to see this not play out. Is the best businesses every single time, which goes along with the happiest business owners, right? Because there's plenty of us that aren't happy running businesses, and we've all been there. We've all been in our business in a moment where we're like, God, this kind of sucks right now. I'm not as happy as I would like to be. Given this is mine, right? And I get to freaking call the shots, and everything that's here is because of me and is my fault. And there's a lot of unhappy of us. The ones that are the most successful and the happiest are always the ones with the best employees. They're always the ones that are the best recruiters. They're not the best marketers. They're not the best sales. You can get good at marketing and sales, which recruiting is marketing and sales too. Like,
Yep.
it's just reverse audience. But whoever puts their energy into that and gets good at marketing and selling and like building relationships on the employee side, that transfers to the customer side. Like, you will be good at it too on the customer side. And it helps because you're so damn confident in your team, right? If you have a team just of A players, it's so easy to go sell your service. It sells itself. Like, the customers sell it for you. I find that over and over again. I tell our team all the time, like, you guys are the salespeople. I just do the demos. I'm just the expectation setter. Everybody that shows up on my demo schedule is coming because you guys kick ass. And therefore, everybody's saying, like, you got to use best damn bookkeeping. And therefore, like, I just need to tell them how we do our thing.
As long as you don't screw it up, then they're in.
Yeah, and I'll screw it up every once in a while. But it also, this just happened today. It also gives me the confidence to fire shitty clients. And we have to do that too, right? Like, not every employee is meant to work for us. Not everybody's the right cultural fit for what we're trying to build. Not every customer is right for us either. And that's okay too. Like, that doesn't make them a bad person, right? That doesn't mean they're doing something wrong. It just means like they don't fit our systems and our processes. And if you're trying to build something awesome and you're like, here's the 3 fixtures we use, and they're like, I want you to order these from China so I can lower my price, you have to be in a position where you can be like, no, you're just not our client. Or if they're like, hey, I need you to do this next week, and you're like, no, we're 3-4 weeks out because we're in high demand. This is a luxury service. Like, this is our schedule. And they're like, no, I'm not going to use you if you can't do it next week. And you're like, good. You're going to be the worst client ever if that's your attitude, right? So I think there's just some things we need to learn. And this, again, out of desperation, it's the same thing on recruiting, and sales and marketing and recruiting are the same thing. It's like, you just don't want to deal with desperate people. They're like, oh my God, I need this. Oh my God, right? Like, there's never anybody that is like constantly in a sense of urgency. I think we've all had relationships like that where everything is on fire and it's constantly like, this needs to be done right away. It's frustratingly annoying to deal with people like that. Like, there's no joy in it. And again, I always kind of go back to the same lesson with employees. Like, the successful ones, they love their business because it's so much fun to run a business with a bunch of A players. And at the end of the day, like, if you're running your own business, you're doing it to have fun. Like, don't be dishonest with yourself. You could go get a job anywhere tomorrow. You're so employable because of the skill sets that you have. I know we all, like, as business owners, we always like to joke about, like, nobody would hire me. Like, I'm unemployable. Like, that's the thing we say because we're goofy and we like running our own business. We could all go get a job doing anything tomorrow. Like, we've cut our teeth on so much stuff. The reason we choose to run our own business is literally to have fun. It's so much more fun, but we can also learn to hate it, right? So it's like, if it's yours and it's all your fault, make it fun. Like, have some damn fun with it. And it can be, but it's really hard to be if you bring on shitty employees and deal with shitty employees.
You've done a good job at that. Like, I remember someone told me they were watching one of our calls or something like that you were running or whatever. And they were like, Wait, that guy's one of Ryan's coaches? What you guys are listening to that guy? And she was just like, what's happening?" And it's like, "Yeah, he's awesome." You know who your audience is, and you, like, speak the language, and you talk about hunting and fishing and drinking beer, and, like, I mean, we joke about how you make, bookkeeping fun again or whatever, but, like, it's true, you know what I mean? Like, you're able to, like, get us excited about, like, recruiting and finance, which are the most boring topics in the world.
Yeah,
So,
gotta make it fun. It's all
yeah.
it's like having kids, right? Everything's a game. Everything's a game. You just gotta have fun with it.
Yeah, you've
It
done
is
good. I was
it's
stoked that you were gonna do your own thing, and then, of course, when you came out with the name and the logo, I'm like, "This is perfect."
This is just classic Plata. Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
classic Plata.
I could never pull it off. Like, it would not come across as authentic. With you, it's 100%
Yeah.
Dan Platta.
And that was the last time I was on, we talked a lot about goal setting and like building a business that you'll love. And again, it always starts with the employees, but I had to be so intentional about that because like leaving a partnership and deciding to do it on my own, I had to reckon with that. Like, what's the point of it all? I could go back and probably make 3 times as much money in the corporate world. I mean, like I've been out of the corporate world for a decade as of this September. I am just now like for 10 years I've made less than I was making in the corporate world. I was well compensated. And who knows what I'd been making 10 years later.
Right.
But like it wasn't about that, right? Like there's still so much upside and I will make however much I make by helping a bunch of people. But like it also has to be enjoyable. Or what's the point of it all? It's just got to be. And the beauty of when you run your own business is it's yours. So if you're not having fun with it, there's one person that can do something about that tomorrow. Right? It's you.
Not today. We have to wait till tomorrow? Oh, okay.
Well, you probably got you gotta think about what it is that you're
At
gonna
dinner
do.
tonight and stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you still need to like go get your kids and cook
Yeah,
dinner and stuff
and
like
you got
that.
another podcast after this, so yeah,
Yeah,
you're right, tomorrow.
you gotta do that. I gotta send out a bunch of pricing. I won't be able to do it today.
Okay, we gotta these are super nerdy things, but they're really, really important. I used to hear the B word, the budget word, and I just was like, "Dude, let's never do that or say that word again," because it felt very, restrictive. A budget, it's like, "Oh, well, I can't buy that, and I can't buy that because it's not in the budget," right? And then I, had that, like, shift where it was like, "Oh, no, it's empowering. It's not a trap, it's empowering," and that's kinda what I was talking about at the beginning, like, get intentional. Um, maybe I mean, I put you on the spot a little bit. You hear people say, "You gotta know your numbers, gotta know your numbers and budget and stuff like that." What are some top numbers in a budget that would be important? Like, what numbers should everyone be at least somewhat aware of when it comes to building a budget, going over their P&L, to help them make, data-driven decisions?
When I think about like budgeting, we usually all start with revenue. And that is like us just throwing a friggin' wet noodle against the wall to see if it'll stick. And,
Mhm.
and it's a pipe dream without a thing to back it up. And so when I think about budgeting, it actually starts with sales and marketing. Is how much are we willing to invest to get us to where we need to go?
Cool.
We can look at our historical data and say, when I spend X amount on marketing, it gives me, an acquisition cost of X to get so many clients, and my average client is whatever size. And so I look at that to figure out what type of sales I expect. And if it's not the sales that I want, then I better do more marketing, right? Or like figure out how to get my acquisition costs down by making my marketing work better. And so I usually start like I'll think through what I think is doable, like the pipe dream of where we want sales to get to and revenue to get to, but really it's a function of our sales and marketing, and our ability to recruit it. I
So, as an example, let's say because we have a lot of people who have, like, Christmas light businesses, and then they're wanting to bolt on landscape lighting, or you have a landscape lighting business already, and they're wanting to double that. You're literally saying, "All right, I'm at 0. I wanna do 500K in landscape lighting over the next 12 months. I know I'm probably gonna have to spend 10." I'm just making up a percentage here kind of to plug in a number, but 10 to 12%. So say, am I willing to spend $50,000 on advertising to generate enough leads to generate enough sales. Is
I
that
would say it costs more than that. It probably costs you 20%. It works its way, and sometimes 30%. It works its way down towards 10, which is like a good long run target. Once you have existing clients that are referring you for free and you have repeat revenue tied to existing clients, then your percentage works its way to 10. New clients usually cost you 20 to 30. And so if you're selling $1,000 job, I'd expect it to cost you $200 to $300 to go get that $1,000 job. If you're selling a $10,000 job, you should be willing to pay $2,000 to $3,000 to go get that job. Like that's super, super normal in home services that your brand new client is going to cost that much. Now, you talked earlier about lifetime value of a client. Hopefully they repeat, add stuff on, refer you, like do some maintenance stuff or whatever.
To your point, if you're focused on the relationship, because most people don't do that. They do it wrong. They spend that customer acquisition, they get the client, they're like, okay, move on to the next. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what about the repeat? What about the referral? Like you're missing out on the whole. That's how you get that customer acquisition down from 30% down to 10 is through those efforts. So now I'm super stoked you're bringing this up because honestly, if you go and ask the average business, just Facebook group, whatever business owner Facebook group, especially in outdoor lighting, most people will be like, oh, 10%. That's the number. And I'm like, no, it's way higher than that. I mean, if you want to grow, because a lot of people are like, oh no, I just do word of mouth. I'm like, well, then show me a scaled business that that is predictable on word of mouth. Like it's just not possible. If you want to go from 0 to that, you're going to have a higher customer acquisition cost, and then it will lower down, like you said, with repeat and referral.
Usually when I hear somebody say word of mouth, they're still on the truck, right? They don't, and a lot of them haven't started charging enough because they still aren't charging enough to cover what it costs to actually scale a business. They're the generally cheap dude out there that is kind of like undercutting everybody and just not charging enough because they've just grown through word of mouth. They haven't tried to scale anything, and that's fine. Scaling a business is not for everybody. Like it comes with different sets of challenges that not everybody is equipped for. Like I see it, right? I won't tell our clients, but there's some of our clients that shouldn't be a business owner. They just don't have exactly the three things you said. They have no desire to go big. They're unintentional. They're just kind of like showing up and going through the motions, and they will not take risks. They'll talk to me about how they want to grow, and then I'll look at their marketing and they're spending 3% a year. I'm like, you should just go get a job. You'll make more money without all the stress. Right. Like, I don't know why you thought running a business, like it's so risky and you're not willing to take risks. And like, I can show you the data and you're still like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to like do that marketing thing. And I'm like, well, otherwise you're just going to sit here and bitch to me that you're not growing. So like, go do something about it. Right. But you're like too afraid, right? If you have a low risk tolerance and everything is scary, maybe it's not for you. Like it's not for everybody. It's like having kids. It's great, but I don't recommend it for everybody. Super true. Super true.
Very true. No, I think it's good. I mean, like I said, I think especially in those initial stages, and I look at my business, I actually didn't even know my numbers when we first started. So I can't say like if it was 20, 30%, whatever. I was not smart enough to track my numbers. But I know when I did start tracking it, of course, that number went down, but I was always in growth mode. So I was always willing to reinvest more back in to growth. And the reality is when you're doing marketing, not everything works all the time in the same in every market. So we would have certain things that like one year was freaking awesome. The next year it was down. And so like, again, if you have a risk tolerance and you're willing to continue to invest in that, if not, if you only have a small bucket and you invest in one thing and it doesn't work, well, the game's over. Right. But if you're able to invest in 5 different things, yeah, two of them don't work, game's still on because 3 are still working. And I think I see a lot of people falling into that trap where they're not willing to reinvest that large percentage. And some of it's because they're getting bad advice from Facebook groups. Oh, I put in 3%. I've been in business 20 years. Like, yeah, but does that person have the business that you actually want? That's just a highly paid
for
job.
20 years and it's still you and a helper.
Yeah. So you gotta be careful. Like, who you're getting advice from, what the context is, and those types of things. Because, okay, so but real quick, because I know we're getting short on time. Let's say if you go that high, can the numbers still work? Can we still build a budget knowing it's going to cost us potentially 20-30% for our first batch of clients?
Yeah, I mean, like you always have a trade-off of how fast you want to grow and how much money you want to make right now. The faster you want to grow, the less money you make right now. And you have to, there's no right answer to that. You have to decide. I point to myself in Best Damn Bookkeeping. 2.5 years ago, I restarted this company from zero. I had to decide how fast am I willing to grow this thing. And I didn't really need a lot of marketing. I needed to build a lot of relationships. And I do a podcast and I go to trade shows. And so I do, it's not like running ads to get bookkeeping clients. It's creating content. It's creating relationships. And so there's an expense to that. But my biggest cost in investment in growing is training people, because it takes me 3 to 6 months to get somebody that's like lights out and fill them up on a recurring service schedule. And for a year, I made $0. I didn't pay it. I didn't take a salary. I didn't take a distribution.
Wow.
Not everybody is willing to take that risk, right? I went from 0 to 600,000 in 2.5 years. We're at like a $1.4 million pace, and like I have 26 clients in a wait list right now. I probably got to grow a little faster, but now we make plenty of money, right? But not everybody's willing to take that risk, and so you have to decide how much are you willing to reinvest. If you want, if you sit and tell me like, yeah, I want to grow and be $1 million business, and I'm going to grow so fast, and you're not willing to put 20 to 30% in, and you're going to do 3 to 5%, I'm going to tell you, like, you have a disconnect between like what's in your head and what reality is. And you got to, like, there's no right answer to how fast you should grow, right? I have 3 little kids. And so I kind of don't like, I don't want to always be working, right? I have 3 little kids. I want to spend a lot of time with them. I love to hunt and fish. I want to make sure that I have tons of time to go hunting and fishing with other business owners and with my family. And so, yeah, I'll spend money to get the freedom, right? I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I get sucked into like a lot of 60 to 70 hour weeks, but I don't want to work 80 hours a week.
Way to put your foot down.
Yeah, and I want to be able to do some of it from a tree stand or from a boat or from wherever. But there's no like right answer to that question. Just don't be dishonest with yourself about what you really want and what you're really willing to give up to get there. You have to be honest about that and like meet in the middle and understand what it takes. You got to go big. You got to be intentional. You got to take risks, and you have to decide how big and how intentional and how risky.
This has been awesome, man. I know you got to go get your kids. You got to do another podcast. If people want to get in touch with you, which, by the way, guys, I mean, this I don't try to make this about like an advertisement or anything like that, but I've got a ton of clients using Dan. Awesome service. I love the way that it's not just bookkeeping. Like a traditional bookkeeper is just like you pay your money and you're not really sure what happens.
They send it to your tax person eventually.
Yeah.
What I hear they do.
Things are organized, so that feels good. I think they're reconciled.
Maybe.
The way that you break it down, you give people reports, they can literally see like, okay, are you up? Are you down? Should you spend more here? Do you have more budget for hiring? Like all this stuff. So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm gonna take it one level further. We send them a report that's color coded, red, yellow, green.
Colors. Yeah.
Color coded, red, yellow, green. And we record a video for every client every single month telling them what it all means. Because like if I send you a PDF, you ain't gonna look at it. You're a small business owner. I know you better than that. I know how I would be. I'd be like, oh, PDF, you want me to read it? So we actually read it for them and tell them what it says. So if that's cool to you guys, go check out www.bestdamnbookkeeping.com. Scope it out. If you want to book time with me, my calendar link is on there. Grab time. We can nerd out on your business. And I got a podcast in like an hour and a half here. But if you want to go check out my podcast, which, Brian, I got to get you back on my podcast. I haven't swap-seed you back in for a little bit.
Well, I think I might get an invite every week. I just don't ever show up. Is that the one or is that another one?
Oh, you're too busy trying to get on Tommy's podcast, probably.
Yeah, I'm intentional.
Yeah. But my podcast is Home Service Happy Hour. We have a beer, maybe a couple beers, and we bullshit and we talk about business stuff and life stuff, and it's just meant to be fun and
a lot of bullshitting.
Yeah. And we're gonna drop some knowledge in there at the same time.
I love it. Well, go check them out, guys. bestdamnbookkeeping.com. And what is it? The happy hour? What?
Home Service Happy Hour podcast.
There you go. All right. Okay, that was awesome, Dan. Thanks for leaning in, and thanks for all you do for the lighting community.
Hell yeah.
Have a great night, man.
You too.
Okay, see you guys. Go implement.